Welcome to the Sheridan Report, brought to you by BetDSI.eu. To get a 100% cash back bonus on your first deposit, go to BetDSI.eu, put in the promo code TGT, or go straight to thegruelytruth.com. Click on the banner at the top of the page for BetDSI. I am your co-host for the Sheridan Report, Mike Goodpaster, and I would like to welcome in my co-host, Bobby Sheridan, for the Sheridan Report. How you doing, Bobby?
Hey, Mike, good morning. How are you doing? And we have the NBA Game 5 finally tonight, so it's going to be an exciting sports day, I think.
All right.
Hopefully it's an exciting night in Toronto. And
you want to start off with the baseball, Bobby?
Let's start off with baseball, Mike.
Let's start off with baseball.
Okay, we have a little bit of a light schedule. It's not a full schedule, but that often is the case on Mondays. But we do have a couple plays we like here. First of all, the three-team parlay I'll do first. It's a little bit chalky, as they say in horse racing terms, meaning that the payoff is not as nice as we like, but that's because Tampa Bay's in there. We got Charlie Morton. I included Tampa Bay. I thought they were a solid third mix and match, and it's before I really knew the first official line, and I thought it'd be about 180, and it's actually 224 right now. So, but we'll go with it. We got Tampa Bay minus 224. That's with Charlie Morton, who has been their ace. We take it to the Rockies tonight. This would be the toughest of the three in terms of the price. Rockies are minus 126. I like German Marquez. You've heard me mention him a few times. He's home against Yu Darvish. And I like that pitching matchup in Colorado's favor. So we're going to go with Marquez. And then finally, Mike, the third of the three would be the Dodgers. And it's the first time you've heard me say the Dodgers in a long time. The Dodgers on the road with Ryu over the Angels. And if the Angels had thrown lefty tonight, either one of the two that they have in their rotation, I probably would have bet the Angels straight. But the numbers, left-handed versus right-handed, facing the Dodgers recently are dramatic. So we're going to stay with the numbers there and take the Dodgers kind of owning this starting pitching matchup. Ryu might be the starting pitcher in the National League. So that's how good he's been. They have not seen Canning for the Angels, but if you tell me the Dodgers get to add a DH to that lineup, that's a little scary. So I'm going to take the Dodgers tonight. Hopefully we're alive to them, and $100 gets back $312. For a total of $412, get your $100 back. Wins $312. So at least it's over 3. That's enough value for me. And if we do get to the Dodgers, we have a good bet going. So there's that. And we got 2 straight plays on this smaller card. One of them is a complete value play, and that's the Mets. I found myself taking the dog. The Mets-Yankees game and then the Angels-Dodgers game are similar in that the Yankees and Dodgers are both nightly overvalued. And so I'm going with that in this series. I'm taking the Mets at plus 175. Vargas has found something for the Mets. He's been really effective his last 4 starts. I think he can keep that up against the Yankees. I want a left-hander going against the Yankees. And Tanaka, to me, is overrated and throws in duds and is beatable at these prices. I don't consider him this type of an ace, this type of a number, and he often is. That's because the Yankees often are. So Mets can get this to the bullpen, I think, make this a bullpen game late, and can snag this one. And then finally, Mike, we're going to go to the Pirates at plus $1.30. This, making sure that I labeled this as my top play. I should have. Let me see. And I did, yes. The Pirates were 142 plus. 142 last night. It's a 420 start. And they're now plus 130. So this line has dropped 12 cents. And it makes sense to me, basically on the premise that Kevin Gausman, the starter for Atlanta, has not been a very reliable starting pitcher. Has not been a very reliable bet for Atlanta. Joe Musgrove has had many outings that have been reliable, we've got the matchup the way we like. If you know and have listened, we like the Pirates against a right-handed starter. That's when matchups are best for them. We get that. We get Atlanta coming home off of this road trip, and we often like to bet against first game at home stand teams. And that check mark there. So I think the Pirates are some good value at plus 130 still. And we're going to try to go 5-0 in baseball, Mike. I got a feeling about tonight's baseball. Hopefully it comes through.
All right, Bobby. We know what's next.
We do. And
the NBA Finals Game 5. The Toronto Raptors as a 1.5 on BetDSI favorite against the Golden State Warriors, who it looks like will have Kevin Durant back now. Does that change the way you look at this game, Bobby?
Yeah, I'm both fists in on Toronto. Yeah, Mike, like I said, barring a miracle type of deal for the Warriors to where he comes in and he's as effective as you could ever want him to be for 3 games in a row, and he leads them to the series title. Barring that type of scene, this is not a positive. It's a positive for Toronto in terms of the number. That number dipped 2 points down to 1.5. You've got some value now on Toronto, and you've got the best team in this series with value. And now you've got to play on Toronto. So in my position, I don't need to bet it because I need 1 win out of the next 3 to cash a large ticket at plus 255. But in the position of somebody not holding that ticket, I was leery on games 3 and 4 because there's some uncertainty. I didn't think the value was there in the number. Then all of a sudden game 4 came around and Thompson played and still didn't like the number. And so I didn't force a bet. We went with the under and we split that in Golden State. And now we come to Toronto.
Hey, I would like to bring up I won both of those games.
Sure.
But, okay.
Yes, you did. You said no, Toronto is still the bet. And I thought that was great. So, yeah, we hit 3 out of 4 of those propositions, you and I. And that put Toronto up 3-1 and put us where we're at. Well, now I'm saying I like them tonight. I like them in this game. I think they'll get the job done. If Durant plays, it sure adds a lot of intrigue, and there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on this game tonight, as if there wouldn't be already, but even more if he plays and see how effective he is. And no, I think it's the right time now, and let's do it. Toronto wraps it up tonight, I think, Mike. If you ask me, do I think this team will control their emotions? Because this is a game clincher now. This is a game decider for the first time. Series decider. This could do it. And emotions are a factor. And if you ask me that, my answer is an emphatic yes. This team is very built to handle this situation strictly because look at the leaders of this team. Look at their best players and look at their demeanor on the court. Look how they carry themselves. Look at the poise they have shown in other clinching games. Look at the home court, what that's going to give them down the stretch. It's hard for me to decide whether I think this is a Warriors strong first half, 10-point lead type game, and then hold on, or if this is perhaps down a bit in the first half and then come back strong with the second half. I don't know. But I think either way, I think Toronto will win the second half. Either way. So second half could be a play here. Second half could be a play as well. I'll be thinking about that. I'll post something about that.
What's the line on the first half?
Well, I haven't looked it up, but the line in the first half is probably about what it is in the game. And I'm going to guess I'm going to guess it's 1. And let me go ahead and do that right now, since you asked. But I like them in the second half, Toronto. And there's 2 ways you can play the second half. Let's look that up. First half is -1. Mike, I was right. but the juice is a little bit high, minus 125. No, -1, minus 105. -1, minus 105. The money line for the first half is minus 125. So, as I was saying, if Toronto builds a lead, let's say 8-10, that means they've covered the first half, they're in position. Some people would say, okay, you can middle. You could take Golden State and try to middle and win both bets, which I don't really like here unless you bet the first half. If you bet first half in game, you can middle. If you bet just the game, I think you can win a little bit more on Toronto and win the second half. I like them in the second half, Mike, in either scenario, whether they win or lose the first half. I like them in the second half. So that's that. Now, I do have another selection that we haven't talked about yet, and that's the total. And I was on the under in the games 3 and 4, and was right in game 4, and was right by a lot in game 4. I was happy about that because I kind of predicted that on air, that I thought this one would be a slam dunk under, and it was. And I made a pretty nice sized bet on that. Well, now I think this game is going to go to the over. I like the over in this game. It has nothing to do with Durant playing. I think the pace of play tonight, the shot-making ability for both teams is going to be there. I just do. And I think there's going to be a little bit more scoring on both sides tonight, not so in 2-3 guys. There might be a lot of balanced scoring in this game. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And this one could be like game 3 was, and could kind of fly over right from the get-go. So that's how I think, Mike. I like Toronto on the over tonight. Let's cash this ticket.
All right, Bobby, what do we got on this day? I already know, and I'm excited because it's my favorite finals ever.
I didn't know that, but I think I knew the opponents, but I didn't know this year in particular was. And so, yes, it's Lakers and Celtics, and we're going to back up a year. We did 85 yesterday. Lakers won that one, but now the year before, it's the Celtics. Celtics won this one, and it went all 7.
Yeah, I think this is comparable for the NBA to Major League Baseball, 1975 World Series. The Boston Celtics, 1983, they got swept in the playoffs by the Milwaukee Bucks, and I think it was the Eastern Conference semifinals, and they fired their head coach, Bill Fitch, brought in K.C. Jones. The Celtics won 62 games to lead the league. They were led by Larry Bird, who won his first MVP. He was complimented by 1981 Finals MVP Cedric Cornbread Maxwell. First-time All-Star, 6-man award winner Kevin McHale, who Steve Risley claims is not that good. Robert Parrish, Gerald Henderson, and Danny Ainge. But the most crucial addition here was Dennis Johnson, who they acquired from the Phoenix Suns in the offseason in the hope of addressing some bad backcourt defense. In the playoffs, they put out the Bullets in 4. They beat the Knicks in 7, which was a great series. Bernard King was probably at his best in 1984 before some major injuries came around. And then they beat the Milwaukee Bucks in 5. The Lakers were coming off being swept by the Sixers, and they traded longtime guard Norm Nixon to the San Diego Clippers in exchange for the draft rights to Byron Scott. And that trade kind of signaled a transition as some of the key players from the first 2 championships gave way to younger talent. Now, during the playoffs, the Lakers defeated the Kings in 3, the Mavericks in 5, and the Suns in 6. Excuse me. However, they suffered a key injury in the playoffs. They lost Jamal Wilkes, who averaged 17 points a game. People don't remember this. They played the entire 84 finals without Wilkes. This cost them valuable depth. Now, they replaced him with James Worthy, who Steve Risley says is not that good also. But James Worthy was normally a key contributor off the bench, so this shortened the bench going into this series. Now, the thing I remember going into this series is Game 6, Phoenix, Walter Davis, they gave the Lakers trouble. They beat the Lakers in L.A. in Game 5. Game 6, they came out and they ended up getting beat at Phoenix at the old War Memorial Auditorium or Coliseum. I forget what they call it. But that was on a Friday night. The first game of the finals was going to be on Sunday. The Celtics had like 10 days off after beating up the after beating up the Bucks. So everybody thought coming into this game that it would be be a Celtic win. But the Lakers completely dominated game one. It's kind of like we talked about 85, where the Lakers get dominated and you think they're done. And the Celtics only lost by 6. But this is a game that was 10 to 14 point lead for the Lakers almost all the way through. And they won at the Boston Garden. Game 2, though, is an all-time classic. There were 2 classic games here, Game 2 and Game 4. In Game 2, the Lakers led 113 to 111 with 18 seconds left. And Gerald Henderson stole a James Worthy pass to score a game-tying layup. It was kind of like the Havlicek steals the ball. It was Henderson steals the ball. And Worthy was in the game because, of course, Jamal Wilkes was out of the series with an injury. The Lakers then inbounded the ball to Magic Johnson, who we talked about this the other day, inexplicably dribbles out the clock in regulation time. Now, the Celtics eventually prevailed 124-121 thanks to Scott Wedman's game-winning shot from the baseline with 14 ticks left. And remember, we talked about Wedman in Game 1 in 1985. He'd win 11 for 11. Now, in Game 3, this is a turning point. Game 3 and Game 4 here kind of decides the series. In Game 3, the Lakers raced out to an easy 137-104 victory. After the game, Larry Bird said his team played like sissies in an attempt to light a fire under his teammates. It was Boss's worst defeat in playoff history. Now in Game 4, the Lakers had a 5-point lead with less than a minute to play, but made several execution errors, including Magic Johnson, bad pass that Robert Parrish picked off in the fourth quarter. But maybe the most critical thing of this was Kevin McHale clothesline takedown of Laker forward Kurt Rambis on a breakaway layup, which triggered the physical aspect of this rivalry, which is what swung the game to the Lakers' side, because the Lakers were a physical team, or the Celtics were a physical team. The Lakers were physical, but I mean, there was a reason they called them Showtime. We even had Larry Bird and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar get after it later in the third quarter, and all this happened with a 10-point lead for the Lakers. And then the Celtics just kept coming, and you end up probably the most iconic moment of this game was Celtic fans started calling Magic Johnson Tragic Johnson because he made so many crucial errors. He made 2 in this game, which led to the Celtics tying the game, and eventually the Celtics win 129-125. And Larry Bird came up with a crucial jumper over Magic Johnson with 16 seconds remaining in overtime. And then to finish it, ML Carr stole James Worthy's inbound pass, followed by a dunk to seal the win. I think it was the only time ML Carr played in the series. And this was just a great game. And they basically just choked under pressure. And 1981, Cedric Cornbread Maxwell was the finals MVP, and he further antagonized the Lakers by following a missed James Worthy free throw by crossing the lane with his hands around his own neck, symbolizing the way that Worthy was choking under pressure. Also, Bird pushed Michael Cooper to the ground on the baseline following an inbound play. I think it was in the second quarter. It was the first physical contact of the game where they're both going for the ball, and Bird just kind of takes his ass and smacks Cooper out of bounds. So we had a series now. Game 5.
Yeah.
We talked about Game 5 on Survive and Advance today, where Game 5 was, the thing about it was, this was known as the Heat game, and it was played in 97-degree heat without any air conditioning, because the old Boston Garden didn't have air conditioning. We talked about how we tied it into the Stanley Cup Finals, and how in 1988 the Oilers played the Bruins in a game that had to be postponed because the ice was melting. It was so hot in the game. And the Celtics didn't warm up with their sweatpants on because of the extreme heat. They had an oxygen tank that was provided to give air to the players. And referee Hugh Evans in this game became dehydrated and actually fainted at one point in the first half. He worked the first half, but was replaced by John Vanek in the second half. And it was also the last time that a team with home court advantage in the NBA Finals played Game 5 on its own floor until 2014, because the series used to be the next year the NBA Finals switched to the 2-3-2 format up until 2014. We go to Game 6. Game 6, the Lakers even the series with an 11-point win. And the Lakers answered to Celtics' rough tactics. Yet James Worthy shoved Cedric Cornbread Maxwell into a basket support. After the game, a Laker fan threw beer at Celtic guard ML Carr as he left the floor, causing him to label the series an all-out war, which led us to Game 7 of the greatest NBA Finals of all time. You had Magic against Larry, one game to decide who the world champion was, and the Heat, in Game 7, the heat was an issue, as it was in Game 5, but it was not as bad. The temperature was like 91 degrees. And they also, it was due to additional fans being brought in to try to cool the air, believe it or not. I guess they brought skinny people in because fat people would just make it hotter. But the Celtics were led by Cornbread Maxwell again, who Cornbread was a guy that in 1976, when the NIT still mattered, he had led UNC Charlotte to the championship there. I think they beat Kentucky in 76 in the finals. And then in 77, he took them all the way to the Final Four, and they lost at the buzzer to Marquette. He was a big-time player. You can see that by winning the 81 NBA Finals MVP. He scored 24 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and they ran away at the end of the game from 111 to 102 lead. The Lakers rallied to cut a 14-point deficit to 3 with 1 minute remaining, when Cedric Maxwell once again knocks the ball away from Magic Johnson. Dennis Johnson responded by sinking 2 free throws to seal the victory. Larry Bird was named the MVP of the series. The series was the 8th time in history that the Celtics and Lakers would meet in the finals, with Boston winning all 8. And, of course, 1985 was the first time the Lakers won it. But I think this is the most iconic series in NBA history. To me, it's the equivalent to baseball's 1975 World Series. This series, I think to this day, is still the most viewed series of all time. I think it was watched like 56 or 60 million people. And I think this is as good as basketball could ever get.
Yeah, wow, Mike. Great stuff on that. And Boston picking up Dennis Johnson obviously was huge. And
the thing is this, you got to remember this.
Yeah.
Maybe the Lakers aren't even there if they don't pick up Dennis Johnson, because Dennis Johnson was a Phoenix Suns. So the Phoenix Suns, instead of having a backcourt of Kyle Macy, who was a solid player, and Walter Davis, could have had a backcourt of Walter Davis and Dennis Johnson. That could have changed everything.
Oh, geez.
So that trade may have won it for the Celtics, and it may have put the Lakers in a better position to get there, because the Lakers struggled in that series with the Suns. I mean, they beat them in 6 games.
Said it went 6.
Yeah, and Game 6 was at Phoenix, and the Lakers beat them like 120 to 106. And the thing that pissed me off about that game the most, Bobby, was there was a thunderstorm where I lived. The game was played at like 11:30 on a Friday night, and I used to videotape all the games. And to this day, if I want to watch that game, I got to watch those little static lines whenever it lightnings, because we didn't have cable in 1984 in Indiana, not where I lived, not till like 1993. So all the way through the game, whenever you'd have some thunder and lightning, you'd have that little static on the TV. Pisses me off to this day if I try to watch the game, but that was what happened when you had an antenna.
Oh, that's a classic story, Mike. And as I was going to say, they pick up Johnson going into this year, and then in '86 they pick up Walton and
yeah, the thing about the Lakers, and remember, the Lakers picked up Byron
moves.
Scott. So, I mean, the thing about the Lakers and Celtics is they were always doing something to try to be a better team. And I equate that with today, where LeBron wants to switch teams. I mean, everybody just wants to win. Whatever it takes to do that, you got to do, and people need to shut up.
Yeah, and back in that time, the Lakers, they picked up Bob McAdoo. They picked up Michael Thompson. Thompson was a big pickup.
Thompson was a huge pickup for that. Was he was there? Was he there in 85 or 86?
No,
87.
I don't think. I think 87, 88, sure. Back to back.
I know they traded for him because Michael Thompson played in the Big Ten for the Minnesota Golden Gophers, and he was a damn good player. I think he might have even been a first-round draft pick.
Oh, he was. Mike, he was the first pick of the draft even. If I'm remembering correctly, he was the first pick of the draft, I believe, and but for sure, first.
Did you know he was from the Bahamas too?
Yeah, I did, and most fans probably know he's Clay's dad. I mean, I'm assuming maybe one person listening just found that out. I don't know, but he's Clay's dad, and they have a son too. He has a son too that plays Major League Baseball, in the Dodgers organization, and I don't know his whereabouts now.
Well, see, how about this? Do you know that
playing?
the Portland Trail Blazers, after Bill Walton got hurt in 1978, they picked Michael Thompson with that first pick just in case Bill Walton couldn't go anymore. And if he could go, see, this is the thing. If Bill Walton would have been healthy, you'd have had a front court of a power forward and Thompson and Bill Walton at center. And the backup plan was you'd have Michael Thompson at center. And the thing is, the Portland Trail Blazers stayed relevant. They just couldn't beat the Lakers because I think the Trail Blazers in '83 made it to the Western Conference Finals against the Lakers, and Michael Thompson was one of the big reasons. But, yeah, Thompson, let me look this up. Yeah, Thompson was actually a Spur in '86 and '87, and then at the start of '87, he was traded to the Lakers. Played with the Lakers through the '91 team that went to the finals, and then he went overseas.
Okay, yeah, okay, so he's even on that team, yeah.
Yeah, NBA All-First rookie team. He was a hell of a player.
Yeah, he was really good, and so that you're right. The teams are always doing little things to tool, and it also brings to mind that
the Lakers did win Game 1, as you said, in Boston, but couldn't clinch it there. Couldn't, in '87 they got that done. The Magic Skyhook.
Hey, get this. You know what he was traded for? The Lakers traded Frank Brakowski and Peter Gudmundsson and a 1990 first-round choice for him.
Wow. So a big man, Brakowski, that could shoot a little bit, and a first-rounder.
Yeah.
And that put the Lakers over the top in '87 and '88. Wow.
Yeah, because he was the guy that they brought in to defend Kevin McHale.
Yeah, at least the Lakers got him back one. Boston was.
Oh, screw that! I like the Celtics better. Actually, I hated the Celtics and Lakers both, and the only time I ever cheered for the Celtics was when they played the Lakers because I was always a Pacer fan, but they were never relevant back in. So I was always more of a Philadelphia 76er fan because I loved Dr. J growing up.
Oh, man, Mike.
Because he dunked just like I did. That is a complete freaking lie, by the way.
Yeah, you did on your Nerf basket, right?
Yeah. Oh, I could tear the Nerf basket up, Bobby. But, all right. We're going to go ahead and wrap the show up because I got a chiropractor's appointment. But I want to remind everybody that, and we'd already done it on this day, and we didn't really have anything else to talk about. But check out the Sheridan Report at Sheridan Report on Twitter or to SheridanReport.com. $5 a day will get you the top play today. $10 a day will get you all of Bobby's card for that day. $50 will get it for the entire month. Check out the handicapping guide with Phil Rankin if you want to do anything with betting the horses. Make sure, betdsi.eu, promo code TGT for a 100% cashback bonus. You can hear all the Grueling Truth shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you find sports podcasts. You'll find the Grueling Truth. So, for Bobby Sheridan, I'm Mike Goodpasture. You've been listening to the Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.